What was life like for those who lived in the 90s? I was 9-18 during the 90s, and it was fantastic. Still had video games, had no cell phone to worry about. No social media other than AOL, and AOL was friggin' sweet as a teenager. I rode my bike and took the bus train all over the state. I'd go back right now if I could. I was a teenager in the 90s. I'd tell my mom where I was going, then just wander in home 24 hours later. Now I have a teenager, we rely on texting updates back forth. I don't know quite what to think of it all, tbh. That decade was basically my 20s, and it was a fantastic time. You could almost sum the decade up as sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I somehow managed to fit university classes in there too. I was born in 1980. The 90s were great times. Malls, friends, skateboarding, best music, video games. Better than now. I feel bad for these children. It was awesome. I graduated high school in 2000, so I had all of my middle and high school in the 90s. We were the last of the analogs there will ever be in the world. Internet was very sparse, no social media, no one gave a fuck what other people's politics were, etc. Great time, and I miss the added simplicity. I was never bored with little to do. I have so many options at my fingertips today and am always bored. I was 5-14 in the 90s. My parents were really strict. I was bored most of the time and did a lot of reading as a kid. Then I hit 12 and my mental health from a constant essay ages 4-5 caught up with me. I started rebelling, sneaking out, getting in trouble, and cutting. Everything went downhill from there. Oh, it was a knife fight. It was fun. The music in the early part of the decade was really great. Fashions, on the other hand, were consistently terrible. I was 15-25 in the 90s. That's a pretty awesome age range in any time period. Things seemed a lot less complex both socially and politically. Everyday items and food were a lot cheaper too. I spent much of the mid-late 90s in the military, and the world felt safer back then. For me, drug-fueled. It was fucking amazing. Not a care in the world. I partied like a maniac. Raves were great. I was in my 30s. Kids were still young. Economy was really good. USSR imploded. Great time looking back. Lack of social media made it much more bearable. Interactions with people were so meaningful because you couldn't access them 247 aside from simple text chats online or via a landline phone call. Fucking awesome. It's the same as today, except no cell phones, no social media, and no Amazon, Uber, Netflix. It's a pretty unremarkable decade other than being the bridge between old days and the new millennial. One thing we can all agree on: the fashion sucked, so I'm not sure why you kids today want to look like us back in the 90s. You don't look good. Wed no, we've been there. I'm 40 now. The 90s seemed slower, more peaceful, and more lighthearted. 911 and smartphones changed all that. I was a teenager in the 90s and it was friggin' great. Doubly so as I was one of the few people in my town on the internet. I graduated from high school in 1994, so I had some kid and adultish years in the 90s. First of all, 90s music is unmatched. My really nice 2BR app in a safe, desirable area that I split with my girlfriend was $550 month total. Internet was still dial-up, but it existed. For the first time we could communicate with strangers across the globe. Ah well, excite Yahoo! Chat rooms were booming. Gas was cheap. The freedom of filling my car with 10 and piling friends into skip school for a day trip to the beach without the anchor of a cell phone was magic. Everyone lived in the moment. We shared stories, not photos. We were unreachable and untouchable. The 90s was the last decade of true freedom.